Good evening, Sarmad, or good morning for you. It's a real honor and
Good
pleasure to meet
evening.
you. If I could compose praise poems, I would write some for you and for your film. Your film is just an amazing accomplishment. So I always like
Thank you.
to know how people start out. I always like to go back to childhood. Your grandfather was an actor, unfortunately died before you were born, but your father was a very noted actor. Your mother worked in radio. So can you tell us what was it like growing up in a family of such creative people?
It was a very interesting childhood, Chale, and I feel I grew up around stories and storytellers. Some
Uh,
of them were very reluctant. They were not very sort of, how shall they were not too enthusiastic professional storytellers. So at
uh,
home, it was still like it was a regular school, and things were much more important. And my parents particularly never brought their work home. So radio I have some memories of, but other than that, film and TV was always kept away from us. Like my dad never took us to TV sets. So in any case, I was an inquisitive, obsessed with reading. I read a
mm,
lot. I read a lot of detective fiction as a child. I was a fan of, just reading things and stories. Just sort of, pulled me towards them, and I just uh, loved reading all sorts of stories. So my childhood was not as, how shall one put it? I mean, they were creative, but they did not really sort of share their creativity at home.
okay, all right. So there was no pressure for you to go into the family business in a sense.
Not at all. I was all set to become a medical doctor,
Oh,
and I
wow.
have a degree in psychology. I mean, I almost went to the med school and then kind of withdrew from it. And
Mhm.
and a lot of times teachers would just turn around, have like an extra question inquiring as if it was not like a proper profession, even, because it didn't fall into the
Oh,
three popular, the doctor, engineer, or a lawyer category. So I was not sure if that was like a proper line of work that my father had. I thought it was
wow.
just like hobby, but it just kept him busy for long hours, really, really long hours. So
I
no, no,
hope
no
you've
pressure at
returned
all.
to, oh, well, all right. I hope you've returned to some of those teachers and shown them what you've done since then. You've you've made a very
Well,
honorable profession out of it. All right. So while you were in college, though, you were working at an advertising agency. Was that your father's agency or a different one? Uh, we're disconnected. Hmm. Oh, okay.
um,
Did you hear my last question? We got disconnected. Uh,
So we
oh,
lost him. I'm going to try and see if we can call him. Sarmat, are you back?
there he is. Okay.
Sarmat,
Yeah.
you're on mute.
technology
No, I'm
fails.
sorry. I'm sorry we're having the technical difficulties. I'd ask about your working at while you were in college, you worked at an advertising agency. Was that your father's or somebody else's?
Yeah, I think now I just fancily called it an advertising agency. It was a very small setup. My dad
Right.
used to produce radio commercials, like, just voiceovers and things that. And then we switched to TV and we did small time advertising work. Yes, I used to go there after college. That
Mhm.
is around, yeah, my undergrad program. Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever
Yeah.
see the American series Mad Men?
Yes, no, it was nothing like that.
No, okay.
Not at all. I wish it was. Not at all.
Maybe slightly Mad Men.
Not at all. I
Okay.
wish it was. I wish it
Uh,
was.
so then how did you make the leap? And well, obviously you were writing commercial, but how did you make the leap into acting, writing, and directing films and TV?
So, Chale, I think here, because we do not have I would say, like a properly full-blown industry, so to say. So there, the opportunities you sort of have to create also. Now, back in 2000 or 1999, when I'm still at college, we just had the advent of satellite television in Pakistan.
Oh,
And that's when, there were more opportunities. So I
mhm.
think, just as a by the way thing, I wrote a pilot for a sitcom for a friend.
Oh, all right.
And before that, I just acted in like another campus comedy where, like they were auditioning people. And as I said, that there was no pressure. And even when I was working with my father in his little advertising firm, I did not think that I would get into acting. But
Mm.
since he is an actor primarily, so somebody said, "Oh, you are an actor's son. You should audition for this." And I was like,
Oh,
"Okay."
all right.
I auditioned. So that was like a small 7-episode acting gig that I did.
Mm.
And then I wrote a pilot, and my friends seemed to really like it. The producers liked it. I mean, the channel people liked it. And I ended up sort of, asking my small advertising agency with my father to produce it.
Oh,
So that's how it began. And then I started sort of, I acted in it and I wrote it. It went on for a good 2 years. And I thought, oh, this seems like the kind of work I can do. And
mm.
direction, I wasn't ready for. I didn't know that, I would have to pick it up that quick, because I think a year down the thing, the director friend had to leave the project and I was assisting him. And this is like a really small, a weekly 1-day shoot where we are producing an episode of that sitcom. Like we really had this marathon, like crazy shoot starting in the morning and going to, and he had to leave. So I assisted him and I thought I knew it, but I didn't. And then it began the real journey. So it began with this sitcom. And from there, then, one after the other, I did a lot of like, small TV projects initially, very homegrown scale, homemade scale. And it was around 2004 when I think it was a lot of self-teaching. And then I started with, say, my prime time television stuff.
All right. I've not been able to see your film Manto, but that just sounds quite an amazing film. Was that that was your first film, feature film, theatrical film?
Yeah, Chale, actually, it was a very, as I call it. It was shot as a 20-part TV series.
20 part.
And yeah, I mean, each episode was 40 minutes. It was a loose biopic on the life of Saadat Hasan Manto, this prolific, legendary Urdu short story writer. So I had got like a big corporate presentation for it, because it was produced by this TV network. And everybody looked at it and they were like, this looks very cinematic. This looks like it's not television. I don't know, just that the way to describe something which is made for TV, but then they call it cinematic. And sometimes people make things for cinema and they would say it looks like TV. In any case, so I just got that idea. I thought that how about, this has stuff which I know that would not be approved by the local TV censors, because Saadat Hasan Manto wrote about the partition, he wrote about politics, he wrote about religion, and there is a undertone of like ideas that people are not too comfortable with. So I knew that, they would censor a lot of it on TV. So I said, how about you allow me to cut a version out and see if it works, and maybe, we can just show it as a, like a distilled version of the series, and let's call it a feature film. So Manto was literally like a distilled version of the 20-part series. And then we did all the post-production sort of, the works. And so Manto was like that way an accidental film, but technically my first feature film is Zindagi Tamasha.
All
So
right.
that is.
Um, Well, going on to that then, what was the origin of the idea for Zindagi Tamasha, excuse my pronunciation.
Fine, it's fine. Circus.
Right. How did the idea come about?
Again, I mean, I could go on about the process, but to be brief and honest, the two, I'm assuming people who are here, they've seen the film now. So the two centerpieces for me, so to say, of the film are this old bearded man recorded on camera dancing, and then him apologizing for it, are video clips that I saw on YouTube, and there are quite a few of them. Like, just not just always old men, but like bearded men or people who you do not associate in this part of the world, like that kind of dancing with that abandon or that kind of joy and glee about performing arts, and then them apologizing for that, like really like prolific apology, saying how it was not moral enough or how it was not dignified of them to dance. So it was like the two centerpieces were inspired from stuff that I've seen on YouTube here, and then the whole thing was knit around it. And again, without going into too many details, but this whole idea of intolerance, which does loom over the film, like overarchingly in that way. That is like they've been just, and I mean, I shot this in 2018, and 2019 is when we finished production on it. There were many incidents and, sad incidents of intolerant behavior, like, which created a lot of heartache and a lot of political uproar and chaos. So I think it was just organic after that. But these two events, so to say, or these two key scenes were pretty much just borrowed from the cyber life that we are a part of.
Okay. When I saw him dancing in the film, I immediately thought of of Mira Nair's film, Salam Bombay, when you see the little boys at the movie theater on the front row dancing. And they're imitating the woman dancer, of course. But I guess somehow with children, it's okay. But with this respected older man, it's not all right. That seems to be the distinction there. Yeah. So I would call that ageism. That's unfair. All right. I was surprised because I identified too much with him. I was surprised to see that the screenwriter is a first-time screenwriter, Nirmal Bano, and you worked with her, I think, 1.5 years on the script. You said something about she just had characters for about 7 or 8 months and no plot yet. So can you talk about that process of working with a first-time screenwriter?
So with Nirmal, I had the pleasure of just briefly teaching her at this film school. I mean, one of the very, very few that we have. So that's where I knew her from. And then Khoosat Films, which is my small film company, we had a TV series. We produced a TV series in 2017, and I hired a lot of fresh grads in that. So Nirmal Bano was my sound recordist on that. So I and Nirmal would just chat because, like everybody's busy, the camera crew doing their thing, but the sound recordist is around, and then, I sitting on my monitor. And so we would just chat, and I had seen her short film that she had made as a part of a thesis thing. It was this most incredible piece of cinema or storytelling on screen, like that. Like really, I can still recall the whole thing. I still remember shots and frames, and so there was something very, very unusual about it, like a gifted kind of eye for just just detail and things. In any case, fast forwarding it to when I thought of this, I don't know, it was just a brainwave thing, and I asked Nirmal if she wanted to write. And I think at the back of my mind, I just thought that I want the pace that her film had, that her short film had, to be the pace of this film. That's it. She doesn't speak Punjabi fluently. She can't write Punjabi. But I thought, it would be a journey. It would be a process. And Then, so when Bano heard the idea and literally narrated, okay, bearded man in his late 50s, early 60s, caught on camera, dancing, that's where we begin. And then something happens and it needs to blow up into some kind of a drama. So she took, yes, about 7, 8 months, and all that she brought back was character sketches. She said, I don't know, I don't believe in plot. I was like, okay, I haven't worked like that before. I don't know if screenplays can be written like that. There was something very interesting about her process. And of course, inevitably, there were some events and plot, like in characterization, and then she would tell me what character is she basing on, what person that she knows, or somebody from her family. And then I would tell her more, like, say, the wife's character, for example. There's a lot of my own mom there, because my mom was bedridden for all her life, or at least I was about 7 when she had a severe stroke. And post that, I don't know when did that really happen. She was not meant to be a bedridden wife character. But, we just started talking and we didn't know what's going to happen to these characters. But just the backstories that they bring when we see them, I think it was just a lot of us going into it. And but we were very sure that we're still going to keep the 2 centerpieces intact, as I keep calling them. And the rest of it then, it was very organic. She would come back with some pages sometimes. I mean, it wasn't like a draft by draft, that happened much later. Even after the characterization, she would just say, so that section where, I know he has been thrown away from the big celebration where he's supposed to sing. And so when he comes back, I know what, so she was really working in a weird jigsaw. She would have these epiphanies or moments. And then I think it took us about a year to look at like a proper first draft, and then the revisions began and the rewrites began after that.
Wow. Well, is she going on to be a screenwriter for other films?
It's so tough making films here. I'm sure it's tough making films anywhere, but we almost have like a very thin mainstream, so to say, as is. So, I mean, the kind of cinema that I think she would like to write, the kind of stories she loves to tell, I hope there are opportunities for her here. I would definitely love to collaborate with her again. But our kind of, I mean, by our kind, I mean just this filmmaking, which is freer, which is not just mainstream masala, as we call it. The opportunities are few and far between.
Okay. Well, the casting was quite amazing. The man playing Rahat, Arif Hassan, this was his first film?
Yes.
How did that happen? What is he doing before you met him or put him in the film?
Arif works for the BBC, the Pakistan chapter. He comes from the the madman thing, really. He's in the advertising business, like fancy advertising business. He's done like hobby type acting before, like a small part in a tele feature or something, like about, I don't know, 18 years ago, like just a bit part, friends. And then I think another theater play that he did again, like, a group of friends did like this theater play for 3-4 nights, only like 3-4 performances. But so I know him as a friend through these friends and actors. So I saw him dancing at this party, and this is like, stunning looking human beings dancing with this abandon on another song. Like, I don't know, somebody must know. I mean, I see a lot of Indian friends here. So he's a huge fan of Shammi Kapoor. Like Shammi Kapoor, like, again, like a big Bollywood star, and like, he danced like nobody else's business. So he was really like, sort of aping Shammi's stuff. And then just that memory stuck with me. I didn't know this was a complete leap of faith thing. So the moment I had some sort of a I called him
Yeah, somebody's saying shake it like chummy, yes. So, so again, I don't know, something about Arif which I think I had just kept somewhere at the back of my mind, and when the draft came through, from day one, I did not even audition other people for this character. It had to be him. It is always him. Yeah.
And the actress
not a,
played. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just saying that he's not even Punjabi speaking.
Oh no. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, and so he really had to, poor thing, go through like intense like Punjabi accent exercises. Like we just flew him to Lahore like months before the film for one workshop, and then right before filming, as in like a month before filming, he came again, and I would just like, constantly, I mean, any retakes on the film shoot were only because of his Punjabi. Otherwise, I never had. He just has this quiet, spot on kind of, like he would not miss a beat for you. He would give you so many more beats and just like, plain moments like just walking through the street. So he got all of that right, but poor thing had trouble with Punjabi, but he really coached him, like got him coached.
All right. And the actress who plays the wife, she is a veteran actress, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Sanya has done films and theater and TV. Yeah. She's a superstar actor.
Yeah, and it's a very subtle, quiet kind of performance. Iman Suleiman is a model primarily, but she'd worked with you before on one of your TV series, I think.
Yes.
Who plays the daughter. And then is it true that you saw Ali Qureshi on Facebook and cast him from Facebook?
Yes.
Okay. So I think Ananya wants us to go to questions.
It's a very gentle nudge. But
go ahead, Ananya.
Thank you so much, Chale, and thank you, Sarmad. That was a wonderful conversation. And we have about 5 minutes before we have to wrap up for the closing night award ceremony. So this time, Sarmad, I'm just going to ask the questions from the audience's side. I'm not going to invite the audience up here. And when we get back to the floor, then maybe we can set a table for you and everyone can interact there. So first question, a lot of people were asking about, what the Pakistani Film Censor Board objected to in the film, and has the negative noise about it died down in Pakistan? Are you safe now? So a lot of people were wondering about that.
The Film Censor Board, to be honest, did not have too many problems with the film. I mean, we were reviewed by the censor board several times, and I think the last review had the maximum number of cuts or deletions, so to say. They just had problem with cuss words in that scene when he has this kind of spat with the was written that apology for him. They had a problem with another word here and there, but usually just curse words, nothing else. The main uproar or the unfair whatever hate that came our way was based on the trailer alone. It was and the trailer was cut from content from the film only. So I think it was a case of people just cooking up their own story for the, I mean, I've seen like people reviewing trailers on YouTube and things for the film, and it ranges between saying that this is about this bearded guy who's a child molester to things like, oh, he has like an incestuous relationship with his daughter, and like it's just fanciful imagination and some weird alternate screenplays that they had in their mind. So it was honestly a case of, say, here people are not used to seeing like a bearded man, and then we also say that he is a naat khwan, like he sings praise poems to the Prophet, and so just that put together, and then something has happened. So it was just the trailer, by the way. I mean, most of the objections or the whole, I mean, this particularly a certain political party which had most problems, which were really like, um,
Yeah.
causing all the trouble. They have not even seen the film.
Yeah.
So officially speaking, I still have the censor certificates with me for the film. So my film was cleared by censors many times. About safety, I don't know. I think it was just about just making peace with it. Like, because I also realized that this whole I repeat, the cyber world is so real now, but also it's not accurate, like even the fear, or say like the kind of threat that I felt, it had more to do with just me reading up things, and maybe it was just say 11 people writing it on several platforms, but it just felt like a big threat. So the moment I disconnected with that, I think it started giving me peace, because online it just seemed like that was like the worst that could have happened. I mean, it's still like the worst that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's just so scary to get these things, and you don't know who's writing them, what they know. So, given that, and given like the reaction at home without people having even seen the film, how did it feel when the film went to the Busan International Film Festival? And did that help kind of get the buzz going, at least internationally?
Sorry, Ananya, I just got the Busan. Sorry,
Oh, sorry. No
I was
worries.
reading something in the chat and I drifted. Sorry.
No worries at all. So somebody asked, how did it feel when your film went to the Busan International Film Festival? And, did that help get the buzz out internationally, given the reception that you got at home, just based on the trailer and without people even seeing the film?
So actually, Busan happened before the Pakistan theatrical release was planned.
Okay.
Even. Busan happened in October. And so I was talking to one of my friends who wrote about the film for a publication, and I told her that it was in Busan, and right after breakfast, I would think it was the next morning when I arrived, I was having a smoke outside the hotel. And that's when, the first Twitter thing happened, like this big official complaint, as they called it, was lodged. It happened in Busan. So I think the Busan win and everything was kind of, then, it was sort of overshadowed by that. Internationally, I'll be honest, yes, it helped us create buzz, but also the naive, silly me understood that once you premiere at a big festival, the other festivals have this big, we're not going to take your film, you premiered in Busan now. So I'll be honest, I mean, I knew about Busan. I knew that, it was the second Pakistani film which was going there. Previously, they had more there too. So when they accepted us, I was very, very excited. And it was a great festival. I think those 4 days were just like amazing. I had never seen like a festival that size. So the international buzz, I'd say yes and no. No, I think I wasn't too smart about, taking it from there and then kind of, and then the whole, they call it the tamasha happened. So the tamasha needed to be dealt with.
I'll do last couple of questions. So what really stood out to me was kind of how the main character, Khwaja ji, he takes all of the cruelty that's been meted out to him and metes it out himself, right, to the owner of the video store. And I was just interested, like, what about the character writing process made that happen? And also, someone else was curious about how the Hijra character could easily distribute sweets and people were able to accept it from them, but not from the main character.
About the DVD store guy, it was always like a big question mark. He was really like throwing our protagonist in this territory where, we didn't know how to salvage him out from, But to be honest, I think all of us in some way, like if not on that scale, but we do that, don't we? Like when we are so like ostracized, we do make mistakes. We do kind of, try and take it out in places where it not ought to be taken out. So I think, and it's for, I don't know, for people to see or read into it. I don't know. I mean, the scene before that, where, you know, he's invited to this hangout or this little gathering, as they call it. I don't know. I think that does something to him. There is some cross-firing happening there.
Yeah.
So he's there. It's for me, it's like an odd kind of moment for him. Now, somebody said, is it realization? Is it internalized homophobia? I don't know. I don't know. I just think something happens to my character there. It's a very big beat for me. Like something does happen to him, and then he doesn't know how to process it. So in that, you know, like when he's drowning, so I don't know, as opposed to say reaching out for help, he's really taking another person down with him. And the hijra thing again, no. To be honest, cross-dressing and transgenders have been a very sort of like, again, I mean, what should be the way to put it? Like, I grew in a mohalla where we were completely okay. Like, it was not turned into like an, you know, say like an ostracized section of society. They could come to your home on Eid and celebrations and all of that. Like, so the whole idea there is that, you know, that they would throw them out if they don't have money to pay for the rent, you know. But no, hijras do coexist, and they have been. And I think now, I mean, with a lot of, say, great movements in place, now we're just perhaps like helping them with, say, officially being accepted. But I think Lahore and subcontinent at large has never had that problem, to be honest. It's never had that problem.
It's a very different situation.
It was a very happy coexistence. And people, I remember our neighbors, just a few houses down the street where I lived, they had a house help who was a hijra. And I'm just saying, he would cook, he would live with them and play with their children. We would play with him too, you know, like, so, like, he would just, you know, escort his children to the ground in the evening. And so, that in itself, I don't know. I mean,
very normal part of life, basically.
Yeah.
So the last question now is, the center point of the film is really that song, Zindagi Tamasha. So did you go into it kind of with that song? How did you end up picking that song?
Can I just say, I love that song. Like, I always loved that song. Like, it's one of those songs that, you know, stay with you. As a child, have listened to it on radio and just being played here and there, you know, like, but of course I didn't understand like even a word of it. It's really beautiful poetry. So so his dance was supposed to be like, say, inspired by, or like he's a fan of a particular actress. And so Mumtaz ji, who is the, you know, in the black and white clip, you see her. My dad directed the film, and I think as a child I remember, like, you know, he's going to watch that film, and Mumtaz ji was in it. And I was like, oh, she's so beautiful. And I think so, just like, you know, I don't know, some affinities, associations. So I knew it had to be this song. I had a few backup options if there was a problem with procuring rights for it. But so it just love for this song. And then, you know, the new rendition, although, was Nimra Gilani and this amazing new band. Then I gave it to them. I mean, I would just sort of, you know, I narrated the film, we met a few times, and I was like, make it your own. I don't know, like, I do want like, but I don't want like, if I may say, I would say, I don't want like a Bollywood remix going on. Like, that's not the idea. Like, reinvent the song. Like, just do like a, you know, just make a new song. This is such beautiful, strong poetry. So don't think that, you know, we need to turn it into a, you know, like a dance number or like, you know. And so the new rendition also, I think I'm very, very happy and pleased.
You did a fabulous job. Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful. But thank you so much, Sarmad, for being here, and thank you, Chale, for leading this conversation. We're going to head back just for a couple of minutes to the lobby right now, and then we'll have the award ceremony in a bit. So please stick around and mingle with everybody. All right.
All right. Thank you, Ananya. Thank you, Chale.